Well, aloha there, and I am still going through some trouble, updating and making sure everything in the setup's all good. Also, the holidays is quite challenging, so, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, yeah, it's gonna be the holiday season, and that is something I'm going to, well, usually busy, but I'll see how I tackle with this. I know before, even when it came to streaming the holidays, I like to follow certain types of topics because of the time and stuff. But I still have Philip Take Dick, learning about his themes and movies and stuff. Well, books, TV shows, and movies, everything has gone through. That's pretty much where we left off. So yeah, going down through here. I figured I could just start from the beginning. Styles and works. Themes. Dick's stories typically focus on the fragile nature of what is real and the construction of personal identity. This pretty much follows on things I agree, someone I agree, so I can skip through some of it. Yeah, all of his works start with the basic assumption that there cannot be one single objective reality. Alrighty. Everything is a matter of perception. And then fourth, where alternate universes and simulacra are common plot devices with fictional worlds inhabited by common working people rather than galactic elites. Following when it comes to sci-fi, particularly like cyberpunk style of stories related to sci-fi. I mean, Man in the High Castle really is a work before that. So these themes usually focus on his main novels, not his whole collection of work, especially Man in the High Castle, due to it being a alternative history than a straight sci-fi world. Which, believe it or not, is actually quite interesting because in the show, on from Amazon, Man in the High Castle, they took a bit of the sci-fi route, which I have mixed feelings about it, particularly with what I enjoy in the first season and then later on. But it is interesting thinking about how they make a somewhat original story than the books. Nothing new with Philip K. Dick's works, but it intertwines different things he has worked on. So it's more of a world, a Philip Take world that is a show that incorporates some things and all that. Okay. Yeah, there are no heroes in Dick's books, Urasuke Lee Goon wrote, but there are heroics. And the juggling construction models most concerned Dick seem to be archetypes of collective consciousness, group, projection, hallucinations, synchronicities, and personality theory. Many of Dick's protagonists overly analyze reality and their perceptions in Jungianian terms. See Lies Inc. Okay. This is something he wrote, this is something he's based off. Now, Dick's identified one major work. Oh. Dick identified one major theme of his work as the question, what constitutes the authentic human being? In works such as Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, beings can appear totally human in every respect while lacking soul or compassion, while completely alien beings such as Limung and Galactic Pot Healer may be more humane and complex than their human peers. Understood correctly, said Dick, the term human being applies not to origin or to any ontology, but to a way of being to the world, or being in the world. This is authentic way of being manifests of the way of being manifests itself in the compassion with its recognition in oneness of all life. In Dick's vision, the moral interpretive calls on us to care for all sentimental beings, humans or non-human, nature or artificial, regardless of their place in the order of things. I pretty much really like it due to how also it does remind me of the new sci-fi concepts when it comes to artificial life and life other than humans, where it is more than just, oh, can androids be like humans? No, 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 no. Can they be more than humans? Can they be better than that? Brings up the question. Like, I'm thinking of like Westworld, where when it comes to having androids as humans, there is no intrigue of that because they could have been so much more than just humans. After all, if you dealt with how the android is a human, you're not really pressing the bigger potential and certainly your own sake of reality. Because the way I remember is that they made a huge point saying that if characters are androids, then they are still part of what is society, what are their purpose in life, same as humans, which is purposeless, and that they are in that fragile state. Now, that also comes to another aspect of like, well, artificial intelligence being more and more interested with other things even humans are not. So, it does bring that into my mind that, yeah, it doesn't become the big issue at hand. He pretty much addresses that as, a lot of people just being fixated with humans or non-humans, and rather it's more like, hey, they're still part of the world, might as well just intermingle each other and just try to see, okay, well, how to navigate through the world. His approach is different from what I explained, but I guess that it also has to do with how people think about the Turing test, about androids in popular fiction, and them as just something, oh, impossible to come in, which now it's more impossible, more and more impossible. So, yeah. So, what is it? Yeah. Or the places in order of things, and Dick makes clear that this imperative is grounded in empathy, not reason, whatever a subsequent role reason may play. End quote. Not again, yeah. It's more like, well, if you guys get along, then just get along. After all, human or non-human, as long as you cooperate and enjoy accompanied by feelings, not by rational logic, because that's what I was going through, rational logic. They made the case for that. It's just, yeah, simple, plain, something that you can look at. Yeah, you can even make the comparison with humans and other animals' relationships, like dogs, cats, and other domestic animals, and all that such. The figure of the android depicts those who are deficient in empathy, who are alienated from others, and are becoming more mechanical, emotionless in their behavior. In general, then, and can be said that the Dick robots represent machines that are becoming more like humans, where androids represent humans that are becoming more like machines. Mental illness was a constant interest of Dick's, and themes of mental illness permeate his work. The character Jack Boland in the 1964 novel Martian Time Slip is an ex-schizophrenic. The novel Clans of the Airplane Moon centers on the entire society made up of descendants in lunatic asylum inmates. In 1965, he wrote the essay titled Schizophrenia and the Book of Changes. So, Martian Time Slip, a person is ex-schizophrenic? well, that show that's the real future. They could solve disease. Which I guess that since it was the 60s and people started using more antibiotics to help a bunch of people from dying from previous diseases, he was probably raised with, yeah, people end up dying from diseases. So he's he's writing this while many physical diseases are gone. Probably many mental diseases in the future will be gone. Drug use. Oh wait. Drug use, including religious, recreational, and abuse, was also a theme in many of Dick's works, such as A Scanner Darkly and The Three Stigmata of Parma Etheridge. Dick himself was a drug user for much of his life, according to a 1975 interview in Rolling Stone. Dick wrote all of his books published before 1970 while on amphetamines. Amphetamines. Amphetamines, A Scanner Darkly, 1977, was the first complete novel I have written without speed. End quote. Said Dick in the interview, he also experimented briefly with psychedelics, but wrote The Three Stigmata of Palmyra Etheridge, 1965, which Rolling Stone dubs the classic LSD novel of all time, before he had ever tried them. Despite his heavy amphetamine use, however, Dick later said that doctors told him that amphetamines that amphetamines never actually affected him, that his liver had processed them before they reached the brain. Whatever that means. Summing up all these themes in understanding Philip K. Dick, Eric Carr Link discussed 8 themes or ideas and motifs. Epistemology and the nature of reality known themselves, the android of the human entropy and pot healing, the Theodicee problem, warfare and power politics, the evolved human and technology, media and drugs and madness. Alright, pen names. Dick had 2 professional stories published under the pen names Richard Phillips and Jack Dolan. Some Kind of Life was published in October 1953 in Fantastic Universe under byline Richard Phillips. Apparently because the magazine had a policy against publishing multi-stories by the same author in the same issue, Planet for Transcendence was published in the same issue under his own name. The short story A Forest with Clay Feet was published under the pen name Jack Dolan. The protagonist desires to be the muse for fictional author Jack Dolan, considered the greatest science fiction author of the 20th century. In the story, Dolan publishes a short story titled Forest with Clay Feet under the pen name Philip K. Dick. And comes to this. The surname Dolan refers to Renaissance composer John Dolan, who is featured in several works. The title Flow My Tears, the placement said, directly refers to Dolan's best known composition. Flow My Tears in the novel The Divine Invasion, the character Linda Fox, created specifically with Linda Ronstadt in mind, is a intergalactical famous singer whose entire body of work consists of recordings of John Dolan compositions. Selected works. Alright. The Man in the High Castle, 1962, is the set in an alternate history in which the United States is ruled by the victorious Axis powers. It is the only Dick novel to win a Hugo Award. In 2015, this was adapted in a television series by Amazon Studios. The Three Stigmata of Palmyra Etheridge, 1965, utilizes an array of science fiction concepts and features several layers of reality and unreality. It is also one of Dick's first works to explore religious themes. The novel takes place in the 21st century when, under UN authority, mankind has colonized the solar system's every habitable planet and moon. Life is physically daunting and the psychological monstrous, monotonous for most colonists, so the UN must draft people to go to the colonies. Most entertain themselves using Perky Pat dolls and accessories manufactured by Earth-based PP Layouts. The company also created Can-D, an illegal but widely available hallucinogenic drug allowing the user to translate into Perky Pat if the drug user is a woman or Pat's boyfriend, Walt if the drug is user a man. The recreational use of the Can-D allows colonists to experience a few minutes of idolized life on Earth by participating in collective hallucinations. This is awfully similar to Brave New World when it comes to the use of, well, this, but collectively a bunch of people like a society. But being conscripted into a moon colony really brings up that case. I'm also imagining like Dread, where when it comes to manufacturing of, was it slow-mo from Dread back in the 2010s, brings up. Fantastic movie. I loved it. So, yeah. You are in a not great environment. You are taking drugs to relieve that. And even being in a part of a different environment, which is modern day Earth, or futuristic type of Earth that he put down. Now, do androids dream of electric sheep? 96C8 is the story of a bounty hunter policing the local android population. It occurs on a dying poison Earth depopulated of almost all animals and all successful humans. The only remaining inhabitants of the planet are people with no prospects off-world. The 1968 novel is the literary source of the film Blade Runner, 1982. It is both a conflation and the intensification of the pivotally Dickeenian question, what is real? What is fake? What crucial factor denies humanity as distinctly alive versus those merely alive only in their outward appearance? Pretty much living in a dystopia with not much willing to work, but it's not a dystopia due to it not really being part of a society in a literal sense, where there's no functional government, there's no infrastructure that is developing. It is just a bunch of people who have their own society doing their own works just to survive, and there's just not much purpose in life when it comes to be successful. It's just people living their life as much as they can in this world. Ubik, 1969, employs extensive psychic, it's just psychic telepathy. Okay, extensive extensive psychic telepathy, and the suspended state after death in creating a state of eroding reality. A group of psychics is sent to, psychic versus psychics. I don't know. I could pronounce some words, and I could pronounce not so words. It seems like my speech have a hard time pronouncing simple words but non-complex words, especially if it has an S. So instead of psychic, it's psychics. But I digress with a group of psychics is sent to investigate a rival organization, but several of them are apparently killed off by a saboteur bomb, just like that. Much of the following novel flicks between differing, equally plausible realities and the real reality, a state of half-life in a psychotic, manipulated realities. In 2005, Time magazine listed it among the all-time 100 greatest novels published since 1923. And that's interesting. That also includes Great Gatsby because that was that was after 1923. Flow My Tears, the policeman said, 1974, concerns Jason Taverner, a television star living in a dystopian near-future police state after being attacked by an angry ex-girlfriend. Taverner awakens in a dingy Los Angeles hotel room. He still has his money in his wallet, but his identification cards are missing. There is no minor inconvenience as security checkpoints staffed by Poles and Nats, the police and the National Guard, are set up throughout the city to stop and arrest anyone without valid ID. Jason at first thinks that he was robbed, but soon discovers that his entire identity has been erased. There is no record of him in any official database, and even his closest associates do not recognize or remember him. For the first time in many years, Jason has no frame or reputation to rely on. He has only his inmate charm and social graces to help him as he tries to find out what happened to his past while avoiding the attention of the Poles. The novel was Dick's first published novel after years of silence, during which time his critical reputation has grown. His novel was awarded by John W. Campbell a Memorial Award for Best Science Fiction Novel. It is the only Philip K. Dick novel nominated by both a Hugo and a Nobel Award. In an essay where 2 years before his death, Dick described how he learned from his psychopic priest that an important scene in Flow My Tears, the policeman said, involving his main character, the impounded police general Felix Buckman, was very similar to a scene in Acts of Apostles, a book of the New Testament. Film director Richard Lichtar discusses the novel in the film Waking Life, which begins with a scene reminiscent of another Dick novel, Time Out of Joint. Yeah, and it follows more, but looking at the time, I just leave off here because Ubik pretty much follows very similar to the idea of dread, and also when it comes to the game Syndicate. Those are my minds I'm thinking about because damn, I just freaking love Dread when I start thinking about it, because Dread as a novel is so interesting that I really wanted a TV show about it. But darn it, maybe one day. But anyhow, that's pretty much it for today. And as always, aloha.